Welcome to the Guiding Star podcast. My name is Starla, and I am not your typical manifestation coach. I am here to talk about all things manifestation, mindset hacks, and all the possible and probable limitations that are holding you back from your happily ever after. Let's dive in. Hi, thank you so much for joining me here today. Let's jump straight in. So today I would like to talk about those hidden sabotages in our lives and how to completely avoid them and jump straight back into following the dream life perspective more than immersing ourselves in things that are going to hold us back. Now, the biggest thing that I see that holds back people from accomplishing their dreams is social media. And that might come as a bit of a surprise, and you might be like, oh my goodness me, what are you talking about? Social media encompasses everything that we used to have in our lives on a wider scale. So whereas before we used to have our friends' opinions and our family's opinions, TV shows, movies, and magazines, it's now gone that extra level with memes, TikTok videos, you name it. Everybody is an expert at everything. So when it comes to Mercury retrograde, which we are currently going through at the moment, I see a lot of fear-based posts about Mercury retrograde. You should be really scared of Mercury retrograde because your ex is going to come back and you might not have your stuff together and you might not be able to boot them out the door. And you shouldn't have conversations with anybody that are deep, meaningful conversations because they're likely to backfire and blow up in your face. And I just read these things and I just think, my goodness, this is the biggest amount of fear-based BS I have ever seen. Now, obviously, I am not saying that, Mercury retrograde isn't a big deal. It is a big deal, but with great power comes great responsibility. And understanding Mercury retrograde at its very basic core is going to help you a lot more than getting frightened about it and getting yourself whipped up into a frenzy. Mercury retrograde is the perfect time to stop and to reevaluate where you're at your life now and how close you are to your goals and your dreams. It's that time to just reflect on everything that you've been doing over the last few months and noticing where you could make some changes and where you could bring some more happiness and joy into your life. It's just this lovely stop and reflect moment. Now, the reason that there are so many fear-based comments about Mercury retrograde usually is because tensions can be more intense. Okay, so people are feeling their feelings more. They are reevaluating themselves even on a subconscious level. And so sometimes if you're talking to somebody who isn't in a great place, are they likely to fire up more than usual? Yeah, sure, absolutely. But then that's your job, right? You're the person that's doing all the mindset work. You're the person that's getting your life into control and you're taking accountability. So therefore, you're able to hold safe space for that person and you're able to hold safe space for yourself. So therefore, it's not really that big a deal. And actually, conversations during Mercury retrograde, I find, usually have the greatest impact in the long run in a good way than in a bad way or a negative way. So when you hear things about Mercury retrograde, just take it with a pinch of salt, consider what you've read and remember that it's a very short burst of information. There's not much context behind it. So whenever we read a meme or something like that, if we're able to apply it personally into our own lives, then we're doing it in a very, very short powerful pop kind of way of taking in that information. And you have to be careful not to make it part of your story. You know, you might be feeling slightly more emotional today. And if you see something like that, are you in a place where you can be responsible enough to take that information in and hold safe space for it along with your emotions? You have absolutely got this. You know, you have absolutely got the power to be able to balance yourself out when you read things on the internet. And I think it's really important that more people start to become more aware of what goes into our subconscious when we are flicking through the internet every single day. Relationship memes and TikTok videos and everything, you know, everybody is an expert. So, you know, when it comes to relationship TikTok videos, for example, tread really carefully, because you may be feeling like that person knows more than you because they have more followers. So therefore, they're an expert on your own relationship and love, when actually it is just their own perspective. Even if they are a qualified therapist, coach, etc., 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 it's still from their own perspective. And I also personally believe that if somebody is going to make a video about relationships and are going to put it on the internet in a short burst way on something like TikTok, they need to be responsible for the people that are going to be listening to that, to their audience. Because where we've all been through, you know, an interesting time in the last 2 years of our lives with COVID and everything that comes with it, we are, I suppose, we are more sensitive to this information. We are looking for those big win moments even more so. It's like, take Halloween, for example. I've noticed so many more people were talking about Halloween a lot earlier than usual, because we want to celebrate life as much as we can. And so therefore, we're a little bit more desperate to celebrate, you know, and at the end of the day, there was a slight tangent, but if you consider that we are in more of a potentially vulnerable state of mind than listening to relationship TikToks where people are putting themselves out as being an expert, could hold you back from your happily ever after, because then you are applying what they've said into your life. Especially when it comes to, and I hate using this word, but the more victimized posts where they say, oh, that person left you. Well, they're a deadbeat, you know, and they're emotionally unavailable. And, you know, you deserve better, girlfriend. and that kind of thing. It's not helpful. I mean, in the short run, in that quick burst of, yeah, I've got this. Nobody can mess with me. How dare that person hurt me? In that respect, like if you were to discuss that with one of your girlfriends or something, and they said, oh, yeah, you were so much better than that person anyway, and all that kind of unhelpful stuff that a friend would probably say anyway. Really, at the end of the day, it's got nothing to do with your life. You're just applying that information to your life. And then you get into that vicious cycle. Oh, I always attract the wrong people. Nothing ever changes for me. Online dating is so difficult. People only want one thing. I'm never going to meet that person. And on and on and on and on. It spirals. And I think by now you're probably starting to see that this picture I'm building doesn't really hold your beautiful manifested vision of the perfect, wonderful life. And when I say that, I mean you're kind of perfect, you know. I mean what you've got on your vision board that you want to make happen and you want to make true. If you're listening to negativity all the time, it's going to be harder to get there because you're going to be constantly taking your subconscious and confusing it. You're going to be confusing the universe. I want this. Oh, but I feel this way. But actually, all men do cheat on me. So therefore, if that's the case, then the next person's probably going to do that. And then on the other hand, you go, oh, yes, Miss Right or Mr. Right are on their way to me. I can feel it now. I'm manifesting this. It feels so incredible. And then you jump back to, oh, this is never going to happen. Good stuff never happens for me in relationships. And I'm probably just going to wind up being a rat or a cat lady for the rest of my life. And I'm using rats there because I would rather be a rat lady than a cat lady if I was going to choose. So, both fair sides there. But you really need to be kind to yourself with this information that you're taking in. And so what you can do is you can make sure that on TikTok, for example, you follow the people that lift you up. You follow people on Instagram that inspire you. Don't be following people that make you feel sad in any way, make you feel like you're not good enough or anything like that. If that's the case, just follow beautiful places, inspirational pictures, cute animal pages and things like that. Anything that's going to make you just feel really boosted, cool cooking pages and stuff. Go for what makes you feel good and what sparks you up more than what other people want to feed to you. Because just like a lovely friend that has the best intentions for you in the world, they're not always going to give you the best information for you to take on board and apply to your life. So think of the internet and social media in the same way. Is this helping me? What am I observing from this? What am I feeling when I observe this information? What am I needing right now in my life? Do I need this information right now? Do I have a request of myself right now to declutter this perceivably negative influence on my life? Just like you would remove anybody in your life that was being horrible and mean and cruel to you, that was, projecting their own insecurities and fears onto you, you need to consider doing the same thing with social media. Happiness is so easy if we just don't take it for granted and we keep it really basic. What makes us happy? Is this making us happy? If the answer is no, look at a way to change that. And I'm not saying, if your job's making you unhappy, then just leave it. To heck with the bills. Oh, no, not at all. But what I am saying is, how can you change that? And it's the same with social media content. How can you change your social media content to reflect the way you want to feel rather than the way you are feeling right now even? Live your life from all different areas. Whatever information you're bringing into your life, it's not just social media, it's music too. Like I said, the radio stations can be really negative. They always have the news in the middle, and it's always the news that they want you to hear, not the news you necessarily want to be learning about and listening to. So I would always say, if you're somebody who is trying to manifest your dream life, make playlists. And don't necessarily, if you say looking for love, make playlists about feeling sad and lonely and upset and scared. Make playlists with songs that make you feel joy and love, and again, immerse you into that feeling of being in a loving, happy, aligned relationship. So the second part about social media would be, what do you comment on? Now, if you've already removed all these pages that you've recognized are not helping your mindset and then definitely not helping you manifest your dream life, you might still be commenting on friends' pages, celebrities that you follow, and TikTok videos, because sometimes, a TikTok video will come up that may stir something in you that you weren't expecting to be triggered by. We've all been there. I'm talking from experience. I somehow find myself being more inclined to do that around a full moon. I just feel more fiery and I just want to say, stop being so mean to everybody. If you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. You can just do that. Just don't type those words. And then I end up doing that and finding myself in ridiculous wars, which have absolutely nothing to do with the thing I was replying about in the first place. And I'm sure, as you're listening to this, you have been in a similar situation. And honest to goodness, it does not help you manifest your dream life if you are having conversations with strangers about their opinions, about the way they see the world versus the way you see the world, because you're looking at two different sides of the road. You're standing on one side of the road and they're standing on the other side of the road. And on their side of the road, they have different coloured houses and they see different coloured cars go by and they see different families and different children. And on your side, you see the opposite and you see a faint view of what they see on their side of the road. So it's really important to just stick to your side of the road, to remind yourself that you are always going to have a perspective of what you're seeing as well, because our minds like to fill in the gaps here and there as well. So whatever we're actually feeling and thinking isn't always the truth. So when we have a memory about something, that memory might not actually be 100% of what actually happened. Your mind has filled in the gaps here and there. And that's another conversation for another time, which is just incredible. I love the mind. I love the way it works. So when you're having a conversation with somebody who you don't know, and you're really trying to get your point across, what are you trying to get out of that? Because you're spending your time trying to convince other people to change their perspectives and to change their belief systems, rather than concentrating on changing your own perspective and your own belief system, rather than having compassion for that person because you have absolutely no idea what's going on in their life right now, how they're feeling, what they're thinking about, if they've lost anyone recently, if they've broken up in a relationship and they're just fiery and angry and they just want to release on a world of people that they don't actually know. And this is a beautiful moment for you, a self-reflective moment that you can have right now during Mercury retrograde. Get it all out your system and really think about how often you do that. How often do you try and change other people's opinions? And you may not feel like you're actually trying to change their opinion. You're just having your say. But just having your say is often just wasted breath, especially if you're having it with somebody who's on the other side of the world, on another computer, that has lived a completely different life to you. They are always going to see things from a different perspective. So that is something I would absolutely start cutting out, is replying to complete strangers on social media because you have a different opinion to their opinion, especially when it comes to the bigger topics like politics and COVID, anything like that. What is anyone ever going to achieve by having a conversation with a complete stranger on TikTok, for example, when you have about 2 or 3 lines and then it stops you from being able to type anymore? You're just going to be using the words that make you feel like you're making an impact in that very short burst of time. So I would just delete what you were going to write, come off that post, and not give it any of your attention. And actually, when it comes to TikTok, the algorithm is very interesting and it's actually a lot easier than the other ones. So if you give attention to posts with negative opinions or ideas that don't match your own, the more attention you give to those posts, the more you're going to see in your feed. So if you just scroll past those posts, you're going to see less and less and less. And then you can also just follow the people that you want to follow, that inspire you and make you feel really happy. And then you're less likely to come into that kind of situation where it is a full moon or it is Mercury retrograde or you are hormonal, and you can just be like, I don't need to reply. I do not need to give my attention or my energy to any of this, because I only give my energy and attention to the things that I want to show up more in my life. If you're always having arguments with complete strangers, you're probably going to continue to have more arguments with complete strangers. That's the law at the end of the day, right? We get more of what we are vibrating at. So if you are vibrationally in a place where you want to fight with people, then more of that's going to come to you. And guess what? That's energy that could be better used in other ways to make you feel super happy and super content with your life. What about when it comes to people you know? And you know them in person, you know what they look like, maybe you've known them for some years now, and they've had an explosion of opinion about politics on Facebook. Well, this is the same kind of situation. They are still a different person with a different perspective on the other side of the road to you. And even though you may think that you really know this person and you could really, really help change their mind and get more people into your court of how things should be seen and said and done, it's unlikely to happen. In fact, you're more likely to get a better response from someone in person. But even then, I would always tread really lightly when it comes to trying to change other people's perspectives and opinions, because really, at the end of the day, it's like when you give somebody really great advice, even as a coach, you give people really great advice, but they don't listen to it necessarily because they're not ready to, because that's not part of their life path, that's not part of their soul journey, and you can't expect them to take that information and use it. All you can ever do is hope that it helps them in some way, but not that they're going to take on your information and reform themselves into a version of yourself, because that is what would happen at the end of the day. If you constantly expected other people to turn up exactly like you would just have a bunch of yous running around, and that would be incredibly boring at the end of the day, because you are unique and special and wonderful in yourself, and you don't need other people to completely match you on that level. You need a little bit of miscommunication every now and again. You need a little bit of tough love every now and again. You need to dish out some tough love every now and again. But when you do that, try and always do it from the perspective that you are giving that person information, and whether they choose to use it or not is entirely up to them. And so that's really about it. I really hope you found this information helpful and that you apply it into your life in the best way that you can use it. Please share this information, this podcast, if you feel it would really help somebody. But obviously just expect that they may not be willing to listen or to take it on for themselves. At the end of the day, you've got you. Yeah. You do you. I actually really like that saying. And just keep concentrating on your dreams and your path, and try and eliminate anything that holds you back from that. And you will get there so much sooner and quicker, and you will be much happier at the same time. All the best. Have a great week. Thank you so much for joining me today on today's podcast episode. I've really enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. If you feel called to, please follow me at Instagram/She's a Guiding Star, where I do lots of posts about helpful tips and tricks on manifestation and how to improve your mindset. You can also have one-to-one coaching with me, which you can find the details of on my website, www.she'saguidingstar.com. I'm really looking forward to the next podcast episode, and I hope you are too. See you then, and until then, have an amazing week.